What's up, guys? Dylan Rush here with K-Tri Press, joined today by Captain Eric Albarracin here at PFL Fight Week, Patricky Pitbull, Salt Lake City, Utah. How you doing, Eric?
Man, we're doing good. Everything's clicking.
And Patricky's taking on fellow Brazilian Bruno Miranda. How do you feel like these two guys match up stylistically? The king of KOs and Bruno Robusto Miranda.
You know, Robusto's tough. You know, it reminds me of when Patricky was in the tournament in Rising, and he had to fight twice in one night, and he fought against another Brazilian, and he finished that person fast. So I'm hoping that can happen again, an early finish. That way he can get the points in order to move on in the tournament. And we've been training. You've been training to do that.
And you've been training, of course, I assume out here, right? Getting adjusted to the altitude. I think we're 5,000 feet above sea level, something like that. How long has Patricky been out here, and how has the camp been in Utah?
Yeah, the camp's been great here in Utah. Utah's awesome. It's like wrestling country here, home of where the Sandersons come from. And, you know, also Ramsey Ninja has a gym here called The Pit. So we've been here for 3 weeks already, and we came early because of that elevation. You know, it's about doing the little things to catch the edge. It's about doing what's the extra. When you're at this level, it's the little inches and the little details that make a difference. And sometimes that altitude can make a difference. So, you know, I talked to Broad Street Global Fund, and they're like, hey, I think we're going to need a house out in Utah early. So they got us a nice house out here. We brought the whole team out here, all of Patricky's family, Patricio's family, his kids and everything. So we got a full house. We got like a 6-bedroom house, and it's been nice. We're all adjusted to the altitude. Patricky's ready to go.
And I see it says Ultimate Financial Champions. What else can you tell me about Broad Street? Have they been really great to work with so far for you and your fighters?
Man, Broad Street's been awesome. You know, they actually flew me out to South Carolina. I saw everything that they're involved with, and you know, all they see is gold. Everything they touch is gold, it seems. So those are the kind of people that, you know, one of the #1 MMA teams in the world want to share the cage with. And they're one of the only private equity firms that are sharing brand recognition with MMA athletes. So it's awesome to have them on board, and you know, I think it's going to make a difference for this victory come Friday.
It's awesome to see them take care of the fighters. It's pretty cool. One more thing about Patricky. I think he's going to need a finish on Friday night, Captain, to make those playoffs. Is Patricky going to get that finish? Is he coming for that $1 million and the World Championship?
You know, that's the difference between the UFC, Bellator, and PFL is he's got the pressure of having to get 6 points in early first-round finish. You know, Ilaria Stark last week was in that same situation. She won the fight but got eliminated. Tyrell Fortune last week won the fight but got eliminated. It's not easy to ask somebody to get a knockout in that first round. That could be some pressure, but if you're going to ask somebody to get a knockout in the first round, Patricky Pitbull is the one that's going to answer that call.
The king of KOs, man. I'm looking forward to Friday night. I want to ask you about a few other fighters. Of course, Patricio Pitbull, the brother of Patricky Pitbull, is out here with him. He was originally booked. He was slated to fight Jesus Pinedo, I believe, in Saudi Arabia earlier this year, the Champions vs. Champions card. Is that a fight you guys are still looking at, maybe the next one for Patricio?
You know what? I think that's still on the horizon. Patricio's big on cross-promotion fights. I think, you know, Patricio has even brought up Pico, possibly even the Japanese, Chihiro Suzuki, who I think he's fighting Manny Pacquiao. So, you know, if that guy gets through Manny Pacquiao, wow. I think he carries the recognition that I think Patricio wants, because right now he's kind of catching this fame because he beat Patricio. So Patricio kind of has to get that back.
Yeah.
And I think he becomes a front runner if he fights Pacquiao, and you know, win or lose, he he gets some name recognition in that fight. That's media that they could never take away. So he becomes an upper echelon fighter. He's already a rising world champion. So, Patricio loves those cross-promotion fights.
And another fight I want to ask you about, someone I'm excited to talk to you about, is Leandro Higo, who's recently been on a tear. He took out Nikita Mikhailov last August, I believe, in Sioux Falls. And he took out James Gallagher on enemy soil, in enemy territory, in Ireland recently. Patchy Mix called for Leandro Higo. Higo called for Patchy. They were actually just going back and forth on Instagram today talking about the San Diego card, September 7th, Bellator Champion Series. Do you think that timeline might fit for Higo? And is that the next fight, Higo and Patchy Mix for the Bellator Bantamweight World Championship belt?
Oh, for sure. When Leandro beat James Gallagher, one of the best grapplers in the game, in enemy territory, in Northern Ireland, that stamped him as #1 contender. And that was even at 145 pounds. So it came at the result of what happened with Pinedo, didn't make weight. And then Patricio decided on my counsel, let's take James Kennedy, because as you know, James Kennedy and you had an interview and they were talking a lot of smack. So I was like, hey, this guy's been calling for this fight. I think this is a good fight for you because he's selling it. He's picking a fight with you. He had said that, hey, while Patricio's head's getting bounced around in other promotions and other weight classes, I've been sitting here doing work. So, that call out is what kind of got him that fight. So, of course, he beat Pico, so that also. That made him #1 contender, but that was the little extra that I was like on short notice. Patricio just did a camp and he wanted a fight, and I was like, I think this guy's the guy you should fight. So the fight happened, as you know, and then take that made James Gallagher without an opponent.
Yep.
So he slip in Leandro Alter Ego, who's been calling for that fight for
a while. Since
before COVID.
And Gallagher too wanted Higo.
So they made it happen, and now there's not a fight that I want to see more than Patchy Mix and Leandro. That is going to be an absolute war. These guys are both some of the most dedicated fighters. As big as those guys are, you got to be dedicated for the fights because you're almost year-round on a diet. So those guys are big 35-pounders, and that's what I think makes it exciting. The fact that they're both awesome grapplers. For the grappling community, it's going to get a lot of fans to tune in. But even so, a lot of times the grappling cancels each other out, and you could see a stand-up war between these guys. And Leandro's not afraid to do that, and I know Patchy Mix isn't either.
And what about the fact that Patchy Mix, a lot of fans out there, media are referring to Patchy Mix as the greatest, if not one of the greatest bantamweights currently in mixed martial arts? Do you feel like with a victory over Patchy, Leandro Higo steals some of that hype and enters that conversation for one of the best bantamweights in the world?
You got to beat the guy to become the guy, right? And I think that's definitely possible. Leandro, in my mind, is one of the best. I've been training him since 2011 or 12. I remember when he was paying to fight. He was paying to win world titles in smaller organizations. They don't pay for your flights. They don't pay for your coach's flight. He would pay $5,000 to win 2, for flights. So I've seen him go through that phase, and if anybody has earned that title, it would be him.
Didn't he go fight in the first ever LFA main event? He won that fight, right? Stephen Ocho Peterson and
against
Higo?
Stephen Ocho
Were you
Peterson.
in the corner for that one?
I was in the corner. I was in the corner, and what was funny about that one is I think he was winning 3 or 4-0, and then Ocho took him down, took his back, and locked in a rear naked choke, body triangle standing with a backpack for like 2.5, 3 minutes. And I remember Leandro Higo going out. His eyes were going in the back of the head. And I remember banging and screaming, Leandro! but I need to see that heart right now. And then he kind of woke up and shook him off and
Went on to win
came
the
right
fight.
after him and won the round. So, you know, if anybody's been on the cusp of becoming one of the greatest bantamweights of in the game, it's Leandro Alter Ego.
Definitely. I want to ask you about two more fighters. I'll let you go. Marco Madsen, a guy you've trained a lot with at Fight Ready, of course, in Arizona, one of the premier mixed martial arts facilities in the world. I think he moved back to Denmark now, right, following his retirement from mixed martial arts. What an illustrious career he had. So, am I getting this right? He is starting a mixed martial arts promotion called Dominance FC.
Correct.
In Denmark.
Dominance FC out of Copenhagen. You know, Mark Madsen's had experience in this before. I think he did it in 2019 before he came into the UFC. And before he was in the UFC, he was an Olympic wrestling legend, Olympic silver medalist, 5-time world medalist, which is unheard of. One of the greatest Greco-Roman athletes in history. Came into MMA, and I think by the second or third fight, he was fighting a legend named Clay Guida. So not only is he a wrestling legend, he's a Scandinavian combat sports pioneer, and he recently retired, and now he's getting in the MMA promotion game. And if he brings that Olympic competitiveness that he had as a wrestler and fighter, and the Olympic culture, you know, these guys like this don't know how to lose. You know, they're obsessed with winning, and he brings that into MMA. You could see DFC as one of the most dominant and premier leagues in MMA in Europe and in Scandinavia. So hopefully, you know, I got a bunch of fighters that would love to compete at that level and compete in Dominance FC. So I can't wait to see it happen, to see another wrestler, to see another MMA fighter, you know, going into the promotion side. For me, I love it. That's what MMA needs.
I'm looking forward to seeing that promotion take off. And then one last fighter. You coach a lot of guys, Captain, but I'm going to keep it to one last fighter. Davison Figueiredo, the former UFC flyweight champion of the world, moved up to bantamweight recently, defeated Rob Font, defeated Cody Garbrandt at UFC 300 with a slick rear naked choke, I believe. Now he's going to take on Marlon Chito Vera, recent title challenger at bantamweight. What can you tell me about this fight? And is Figueiredo's camp, I assume it's getting underway now, correct?
Yes, so get Figgy with it. He's down there in Natal, Brazil right now at the Pitbull Brothers. Some of the training partners and are staying at the Broad Street Global House down there. So we have everything set up down there with training partners, team doctors. Chacal Freitas, the nutritionist, strength and conditions here with us. Will we be going back soon? So everything's set up for his camp, and he just got there last week. His 8 weeks has started, and you know we're fighting in Abu Dhabi, which is we just fought in Abu Dhabi. Actually, I was there for Costa versus Chimaev, which actually didn't go down. But you know, Abu Dhabi. This weekend, Saudi Arabia with the UFC, you know, like the Middle East is getting real big in investing in MMA. So I love to see that, you know, that oil money, those sheikhs, the kings, they love MMA, and, you know, they're willing to invest in this sport, which is the fastest growing sport in the world. So anytime you get a whole region interested now in MMA, that's a good thing. So this, you know, soon they say it's the fight capital of MMA. So, you know, hopefully that comes true, because I love it over there. They really treat the fighters and the sport well. Boxing too, any sport over there really.
Yeah.
But MMA doesn't get that kind of love as much as soccer players do. And when we go over there, you kind of do. So it's always nice to go to the Middle East. You know, I've seen even a fan in Abu Dhabi give Chimaev like a Rolex just as a gift.
That's crazy.
For being a fan. So
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
hey, we're coming over to Abu Dhabi if there's any fans. But, you know, that's it's awesome to have, you know, a whole group of a whole region, the Middle East, to start loving MMA, and it's growing over there. And I'm glad that we're part of it.
The Saudis are really taking over sports, man. Soccer, of course, they got Ronaldo, I think Neymar, Benzema, a lot of soccer players. Then the Live Golf Tour, they merged with the PGA. And now, of course, as you mentioned, MMA, it's great to see, of course, UFC expanding, going over there. But not just UFC, PFL's launching PFL MENA. So even the PFL is getting involved over there. And, of course, Tyson Fury, Usyk, the rematch going to go down over there. So that's all pretty cool. Last question, not much of a question, just I want to give you the floor. Any final message to the fans out there? Anybody you'd like to shout out before I let you go?
Yeah, I think Paulo Costa, he just fought last week, 2 weeks ago. And today on Ariel Helwani, he was calling out Chimaev, so that's a big fight that we still would want. I hear he's a little under the weather or however it may be, so I wish him to get healthy, but I think that fight is still one that needs to go down. There's a lot of hype between those two, so I would still like to see that fight happen. Mr. Secret Juice and Secret Juice Man and the Wolf versus the Wolf, so I think that's a big one. Saudi Arabia this weekend, there's huge fights, so stay tuned for that. There's been a lot of mix-ups going over there with Whitaker versus Iskarov now because of Chimaev pulled out, which move. And then the Shower Bullet was fighting Joelton. So the Brazilian Sub-Zero, he's a Broad Street Global fighter. And then there's a lot of mixing up stuff moving around with Saudi Arabia, and there's still only 2 days to go, so stay tuned. I think there's a lot of changes going on still.
We might see some more crazy stuff happening these next 2 days.
For sure. And, we're here in Salt Lake, and just tune in. Patricio Pitbull's here with his brother, and that's something, he did the last 3 weeks of camp with Patricio, with Patricky, which was something that's never happened in my 13 years with the Pitbull brothers. I've had Patricio in the corner, but it was never as a training partner or coaching camp. And this camp he was. So we even got to see the brothers spar.
Wow.
Patricio didn't let Patricky away with anything easy. So it was good to see. And, stay tuned to Patricky's YouTube channel, Pitbull Brothers, because you could see those sparring sessions and some of the behind the scenes that's going on, like this one right here. Patricio's son,
4 years old.
4 years old, opened me up right
Crazy.
there with an elbow. So
you should have told him elbows aren't allowed at PFL. We're at PFL.
He don't care. He's only 4 years old. But yeah, man, stay tuned. And, I think fight smart, invest smarter, Broad Street Global, the ultimate financial champions. Check them out at broadstreetprivateequity.com, and we'll see you this Friday.
Captain Eric Albarracin, coach of some of the best fighters in the world. Here this week, Patricky Pitbull, the king of KOs, taking on Bruno Robusto Miranda. It seems like Patricky's going to be gunning, hunting for that first round finish. So definitely tune into that one Friday night on ESPN. It's going to be a good one. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.